Hey everybody, welcome back to our Hey Nostradamus series. We're on day 8 of Hey Nostradamus by Douglas Coupland. We're going to pick up today with Jason about to go to his brother Kent's memorial service. It's been a year since Kent was killed in a car accident when a teenage drunk driver crashed into him. Jason had stopped by to pick up his mom to bring her to the service, but she decided she couldn't make it, so he left her there, and he's going on alone. All right, so we're on page 79 in your book. Follow along, or just sit back and listen. This is Jason talking now. I arrived at Barb's house a bit on the late side. The attendees were mostly Kent's friends, friends who'd seemed old to me in high school and who always will. Folding wooden chairs were arranged on the back lawn, none of them level. The forest, after decades of lying in wait, was silently sucking the old ranch house and the moss-clogged lawn back into the planet. The twins, that would be you, my nephews. Now remember this whole section he's writing a letter to his nephews, the twins. The twins, that would be you, my nephews, and a few other babies were in the TV room, being as quiet and gentle as their pious parents, as they were serenaded by a tape of soothing nature sounds, waves lapping a Cozumel beach, birds of the Guyana rainforest, rain falling in an Alaskan fjord. Kent's friends had all been hardcore youth alivers who'd never strayed, who became dentists and accountants and moved to Lynn Valley along with most of the city's Kents. I'd seen none of them in the year since Kent's funeral. I knew they'd all enjoy a righteous tingle from any confirmation of my life's downwardly sloping line. My slapped-together ensemble delivered the goods. Hey, Barb. Finally, somebody from your family shows up. Mom can't make it. One guess why. Reg is praying now by exit 5. I imagine he'll creak his way here soon enough. Lovely. I poured myself a glass of red wine. Piety mercifully ended at the bar with this crowd. Barb was never involved with Youth Alive, and because of this, had always felt like an outsider in the Kent set. As I looked out at all the healthy teeth and hair on the patio, I realized how sad and insufficient any memorial service would be. I missed Kent. Badly. Was the service your idea, Barb? Yes, but not this big Hollywood production. They're trying to set me up with some guy in the group. It's so clinical and mechanical. She looked out onto the lawn. They're pretty efficient. I have to hand that to them. All I had to do was open the door and look wounded. Charitable. Stick a potato in it. Your job, by the way, is to continue being the doomed loser brother. It shouldn't be a stretch. And your job? Stoic widow who at least has 2 kids as a souvenir. I went out to the car and brought in a canvas duffel bag filled with some presents for the 2 of you. But your mother got mad at me for spoiling you. A battle that will never stop because I'll never stop spoiling you. I went in to see you in your cribs, chubby, a bit of curly hair, Kent smile, which is actually my mother's smile. I gave you each some animal puppets and entertained you with them for a while. Out on the patio, I shook a few hands and tried not to look like a doomed loser. Kent's friends were using the technically friendly Youth Alive conversation strategy with me. Here's an example. That's great, Jason. Gina and I were thinking of redoing the guest bathroom. Weren't we, Gina? Oh, yeah, we really were. We ought to take down your phone number. We'll get it from you after the service. Great. After a few minutes of this, Gary, Kent's best friend, tinkled his glass, and the group sat down. On easels up front were color photocopy enlargements of Kent's life. Kent whitewater rafting. Kent at a cigar party. Kent playing frisbee golf. Kent and Barb lunching in Cabo San Lucas Patio Bistro. Kent at a stag party pretending to drink a yard-long glass of beer. Each of these photos emphasized the absence of similar photos in my own life. Gary began giving a speech, which I tuned out, and when it felt as if it was nearing the end, I heard a click behind me. Red's trying to open the latch on the living room sliding doors. Barb got up, offered a terse hello, brought him down under the lawn, and gave him a chair. We all remembered Kent for a silent minute, which was hard for me. Kent's death meant that there were more Jasons in the world than there were Kents, an imbalance I don't like. I'm not sure whether I'm any good for the world. I sprang up when the minute of silence ended and dashed to the bar in the kitchen. There was nothing hard there, just wine. Chugging was in order, so I poured most of a bottle of white into a 20-ounce Aladdin souvenir plastic drinking cup, then downed it like Gatorade after a soccer game. Barb saw me do this and spoke in a sarcastic Dick and Jane tone. Now, Dick and Jane were first-grade readers when I was a kid in high school. Like, see Dick run, see Jane sit. Dick and Jane had a dog named Spot. You know, it was these to teach you how to read books, right? So in this Dick and Jane tone, gosh, Jason, you must be very thirsty. Yes, I am, Barb. She let it go. Outside, all of Kent's friends were doing dad duty, Fine by me. I asked Barb if she ever spoke with Reg these days. Nope. Never? Never. I decided to be naughty. You should try. Why on earth would I want to do that? Jesus, Barb, it's Kent's memorial. You have to do something. This was not strictly true, but I'd pushed a guilt button. You're right. She went outside and joined a trio of Kent's friends with Reg. I stood nearby so I could hear their conversation. Barb said, Reg, I'm glad you could come. Thank you for inviting me. Barb turned to Kent's friends. What were you guys talking about? Cloning. Barb said, this Dolly the sheep thing must be raising a few eyebrows. That was the first, I think, successful clone was they cloned a sheep named Dolly. Okay. Must be raising a few eyebrows. One friend, whose name was Brian, said, you better believe it. He asked my father, Reg, do you think a clone would have the same soul as its parent or perhaps have a new one? A clone with a soul. Dad rubbed his chin. No, I don't think it would be possible for a clone to have a soul. No soul, but it would be living. It would be a living human being. How could it not? It would be a monster. Another friend, Riley, cut in here. But then what about your twin grandsons? They're identical, so when the embryo splits, technically one nephew is the clone of the other. You think that one of them has a soul and one doesn't? Barb, trying to lighten things, said, talk about monsters. If I miss feeding time by even 3 minutes, then I become Ripley and they become the alien. Reg wrecked this attempt at cheeriness. He'd obviously been thinking hard, his face sober like a bust of Abraham Lincoln. Yes, he said, I think you might have to consider the possibility that one of the boys might not have a soul. Silence. All the real smiles turned fake. You're joking, said Riley. Joking about the human soul? Never. Barb turned abruptly and walked away. The three guys stood there looking at Reg. Then Barb returned with one of the wooden folding chairs, holding it sideways like a tennis racket. You evil, evil bastard! Never, ever come back to this house, ever! Barb, go now, because I'll break you in two, I will! Is this really? Don't go meek on me now, you sadistic bastard! I'd seen this side of Barb before and knew she would push the situation way further if she wanted to. Riley made some gesture to stand between her and my father. I went over to Barb and tried removing the chair from her grip, but she clutched it using every sinew she developed as captain of the girls' field hockey team. Barb, no. You heard what he said. He's not worth the effort. He should die for the things he's done to people. Someone has to stop him. I looked at my father into his eye slits and knew that nothing had changed, that he had no real understanding of what he'd done to deserve this. I would have poured the remains of my wine on him, but that would have been a waste. Barb said, I'll pour Drano on your grave, you sick bastard. Drano is drain cleaner. It unclogs drains. Reg took the hint. Some of the wives, not a girlfriend of the bunch, accompanied my father to his car. I sat with your mother while the Alive crew scoured the house of memorial residue. I said, Barb, you never believed me about Reg, about how evil he is. Now you know. It's one thing to hear about it, Jason, and another to see it in operation. Barb, the thing about Dad is that he'll always betray you in the end. Even if you think you've gotten close to him, earned your way into his bosom the way Kent did, in the end he'll always sell you out to his religion. He's actually a pagan that way. He has to make sacrifices, so he sacrificed his family one by one. Tonight he offered the twins to his God. If he were a dog, I'd shoot him. And so I picked up Joyce at Mom's with a TV station that kicked into late-night infomercials. She was sleeping it off on the couch. I drove home, and I'm going to bed soon. Reg, he keeps doing the stupidest, saying the dumbest, meanest, nastiest things, and really not getting why people are upset with him. Right? So basically, he just said one of his twin grandsons is a monster and doesn't have a soul because when the embryo splits in the womb, it's a clone of the other one. All right. A couple of things were mentioned, and I don't want to give away what happens, but I do want to mention, since we're not going to be together, and I can say, hey, remember when? But a couple of things. She said, well, at least one thing. He said to her, he said about Barb, I've seen her push things before, and I knew she'd, push it further if need be. We're going to see an instance that happens, this crazy thing that happens that he's talking about. And there's something else that I would mention, but if I mentioned it, it's going to give it away. Even hinting at it's going to give it away, so I can't. All right, never mind. Just hit the rewind button on the video and act like I didn't say any of that. Okay. I arrived at Ambleside Beach a few minutes ago, and something unusual happened. I was sitting in the truck's cab removing the burr from Joyce's flank while looking at my stack of pink invoice papers when this pleasant enough woman in a purple fleece coat holding a baby in her arms comes up to the window and says, "Homework?" Now, if I met you last week, I'll never remember your name. But if we went through kindergarten together, you're still in my brain for good. Demi Harshaw! Demi is the massacre victim I'd last seen on October 4th, 1988, having a silver spike jabbed into her unclothed heart. How are you doing, Jason? No surprises. You? Joyce trampled over my lap to lick Demi's face. Pretty average, I guess. I got married 2 summers ago. My last name is Minotti now. This here's Logan. Joyce dragged her tongue right across Logan's face. Sorry. It's okay. We're a dog family. See, Logan didn't mind it one bit. It's so great to see you. We were both 6 again, and I felt so innocent and genuinely free, like we just quit jobs we hated. After maybe 5 minutes, I asked Demi about her health. She'd been one of the kids shot over by the vending machines, and she'd lost a foot. I don't even notice it anymore. I do Pilates 3 times a week and coach softball with my sister. To be honest, wearing braces back in elementary school was way harder to deal with. How about you? Demi knew in the way everyone knows about how things went wrong for me in the weeks after the massacre. We're both 10 years older, too, so I could describe things to her in non-candy-coated terms. You know what? I never got over Cheryl. Not ever. I doubt I will. I try really hard to join the real world, but it never seems to work, and lately I think I've stopped trying, which scares me more than anything. I do house renovations on a by-the-hour basis, and all my friends are barflies. She thought this over for a second. I stopped trusting people, too, after the shootings, and until I met my husband, Andreas, I didn't think I'd ever trust people again. And for what it's worth, I think you're one of the few people I could trust, now that I do believe in trust again. Thanks. No, thank you. After all the junk you had to go through. Demi paused for a second. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks after the massacre. I missed all those hand-holding ceremonies and flowers and services and teddy bears, etc. I really regret that because maybe it would have made me a better person, or at least maybe I wouldn't go around looking at everybody as evil instead of good. I doubt it. Demi sighed. When I talk like this, Andreas thinks I'm cold-hearted, but then he wasn't there. We were. And if you weren't, you weren't. We'd hit on something irreducible here, and talking much beyond this point would have felt like a betrayal of our shared memories. We made our quick goodbyes, and Demi and Logan headed down to the water, and here I am now in my truck's cab, the scribbler of Ambleside Beach. It's an hour later, and I'm still sitting in the truck. I wish I could be as innocent as I was at 6, the way I felt just briefly while talking with Demi, but that's childish. I wish humans were better than we are, but we're not. I wish I knew how bad I could become. I wish I could get a printout that showed me exactly how susceptible I was to a long list of sins. Gluttony, 23% susceptible. Envy, 68% susceptible. Lust, 94% susceptible. That kind of thing. Oh, God, it's religion all over again. It's my father's corrosive bile percolating through my soil and tickling my taproot. Be as pious as you want, people are slime, or as my father might say, we're all slime in the eyes of God. It's the same thing. And even if you decided to fight the evil, to attain goodness or religious ecstasy, not much really changes. You're still stuck being you, and you was pretty much decided long before you started asking these questions. Maybe clones are the way out of all of this. If Reg is against them, that means they're probably a good idea. And as a clone, you pop off the assembly line with an owner's manual written by the previous you. A manual as helpful as the one that accompanies a 1999 VW Jetta. Imagine all the crap this would save you, the wasted time, the hopeless dreams. I'm going to really think about this. An owner's manual for me. It's midnight. I cut short my evening with my barfly construction buddies. We shot a few buckets of balls at the Park Royal driving range and had a few beers, but I just couldn't bring myself to continue. Writing this document has taken a firm grip of me. Here's an overview of what happened after the Delbrook massacre. He's alluded to it several times, so let's see what happened afterwards. The fact that I'd never met the 3 gun wielders didn't seem to matter. In published transcripts of interviews with the police, on the morning of the event, I was agitated. I walked cavalierly out of chem class without so much as a nod to the teacher. I was seen having an emotional confrontation with Cheryl. I, quote, assaulted, drew blood from, and gave a concussion to Matt Gursky from Youth Alive. I also assaulted Mr. Kroger with seeming forethought, quote, unquote. And I, quote, seemingly knew to enter the cafeteria just after Cheryl Anway had been shot. I think the public was desperate for cause and effect. At first glance, I suppose I'd probably be suspicious of me too. And I'm pretty sure it was my father's bizarre reaction to the news that got police to thinking about me. From a hero to a suspect. Whatever the cause, the morning after the shootings, I saw my yearbook photo on the front of the paper with a headline, Mastermind? I can't think of this guy's name. It's tip of my tongue, but I can't think about it. It's the guy that found the bag in Atlanta Centennial Park, the bombing, and there's a couple of movies out about him right now. He was a hero, and then they started thinking maybe he was suspect and he had planted it, and his good name got tarnished. He went from hero to villain overnight. It's kind of what's happened to Jason here. He was a hero who threw the rock and killed the boy and saved all his lives, and now suddenly he's the mastermind behind it all. He's not. He had nothing to do with it, but people need an explanation. People aren't good with the unknown. People need to have all the dots connect and the lines to connect and it all to work out, all to mesh together and make sense. When things don't make sense, we're in a state of disequilibrium, and people don't like that. The only thing missing was motive. The three nutcases with guns were screwed up geeks lost in a stew of paranoia, role-playing games, military dreams, and sexual rejection. They were a slam dunk. With me, the case seemed to revolve around my relationship with Cheryl, about the fight we had that morning, and reasons why I might want her dead. The best police minds couldn't engineer a reason no matter how soap operatic they're thinking. On my side, I refused to make my life with Cheryl anybody's business but my own. I didn't mention our marriage because it was sacred. I wasn't going to let the massacre make it profane. I refuse to let it be used as some kind of plot twist in the final 5 minutes of an episode of Perry Mason. That's a detective show. So I said nothing, only that Cheryl wanted to talk about feelings and I didn't. As simple as that, which is basically what it was. Okay, I'm not lying here, but I'm not disclosing everything. Truth is, Cheryl had just found out she was pregnant. That was what we had been discussing in her locker. I was so taken aback by the news that I said something stupid, I forget what, and then I told her I had to prepare equipment for a junior A team. Me, a father, and all I can say is I have to get stuff ready for the junior A team. Even the idea of the baby got lost in the ordeal of the first 2 weeks. It wasn't until a month later, while I was waiting for a bus in New Brunswick, the temperature well below zero, that the baby caught up to me. I had to go behind a cedar hedge to cry. My nose began to bleed from the dry air, and the blood brought even more, well, you get the picture. As a result of the baby, I began doing what I used to do, wondering which woman was going to be my wife, except that now I looked at every child I saw and wondered if he or she was supposed to be mine. And then for a while, I couldn't be near kids at all, and I got jobs up the coast in logging camps, construction, and surveying. And now I guess I'll continue writing about the aftermath of the massacre. My many friends from Youth Alive set the tone, gleefully providing police with a McCarthy-era dossier on Cheryl and me, a diary of the time we spent together after we returned from Las Vegas. The entries describe everything but the sex, where the cars are parked, what rooms were used, and which lights went on and off at what time, the state of our clothing and hair before and after, the expressions on our faces, most often variations of the theme satisfied. News that the police had taken me away from the parking lot caused rumors to quickly spread. By evening, our house had been egged and paint bombed. The police had cordoned it off and advised us that it would probably be easier and safer if I spent the night at the station and Mom found a hotel or a motel room. Ken flew in from Edmonton. He was in his second year at the University of Alberta working toward a CPA degree. Having Dad in the hospital was a blessing, as at least I didn't have to worry about him selling me further down the river. He and Mom, in their last active married unity, synchronized their stories about the fractured knee and then called it quits. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that little chat. My main memories of those 2 weeks was when I was under suspicion, or of moving from one spartanly furnished room to another, a cell, a motel room, or an interrogation room. I was what you'd now call a person of interest, living in a legal netherworld, neither free nor in custody. I remember eating mostly takeout Chinese or pizza and having to hide in the bathroom when it was delivered. I remember always having to dial 9 before phone calls to my lawyer, and there was this chestnut-colored kiss curl wig given to me by a woman from the RCMP. I was to wear it when we drove from place to place, but no matter how many times we rinsed it, it smelled like a thrift store. Potential angry mobs or not, it was stupid, and I chucked it in the trash. There was this one interrogation room that smelled like cherry cola, and everywhere the same yearbook photos being endlessly recycled on TV and in the papers. I remember coming back from a questioning session one morning to find my mother opening the motel door with a large vodka stain shaped like Argentina on her blouse. And I wondered if I'd need to take a death certificate to Nevada to become officially unmarried. Is there even a name for this? Widowed sounds wrong. I ate chocolate bars from Texaco for breakfast. Kat and I drove once to the cemetery where Cheryl had been buried, but there were TV vans, so we didn't go in. All over the embankment beside the police station, I saw magic mushrooms sprouting, which seemed funny to me. And I remember Kent returning from the house where he'd gone to clean up the eggs and paint, and how he refused to discuss it. One thing Kent did during this time was, as ever, not take sides. He never said it in so many words, but he spent hours on the phone with the Alivers and could only have been placating them. They think I organized it, don't they? They're curious and angry like everybody else. But they do. They're just confused. Let it go. You'll be cleared soon enough. Do you think I was involved? Kent waited half a second too long to answer this. No. You do. Jason, let it ride. The thought of my brother not really being on my side frightened me so much that I did let it ride. In any event, I remember the days becoming shorter and Halloween approaching and chipping my tooth on a police station drinking fountain. One further thing I remember was Mom going on a Nostradamus kick. She was trying to find the massacre foretold in his prophecies somewhere, as if. Hey Nostradamus, did you predict that once we found the promised land, we'd all start offing each other? And did you predict that once we found the promised land, it would be the final promised land, and there'd never be another one again? Now, if you were such a good clairvoyant, why didn't you just write things straight out? What's with all the stupid rhyming quatrains? Thanks for nothing. But most of all, I remember making sure that I got my injection every day right on time at noon and midnight. After I got it, I had a 5-minute window when I didn't have to think about Cheryl, alive, dying, or dead. I'm drunk. And we're going to stop there. Tomorrow he's going to pick up and he's going to start writing his clone letter. And as I mentioned earlier, your final project is going to be a big project, a lot of stuff to do. But one of the sections was the quotes. You know, you're looking for quotes that you're going to talk about. One section is you're going to write your own clone letter. So you're going to write a letter from yourself right now to your clone as if it were about to be created in the lab. So your clone pops out and it has an instruction manual. So, you know, hey, dear clone, this is me, this is Jim in the future. When you turn 53, you're going to have this surgery on your foot. You think it's no big deal, but it's going to be a lot harder than you thought. So take it seriously and maybe think about doing it at another time so you don't miss so much school. You know, you're going to talk to your clone to help them get through things that you went through. You know, when in 7th grade, you're going to meet Wendy and you're going to think she's the one, but she's going to betray you with your best friend. So be careful. Or, you know, you're going to grow up and you're going to be on the football team and you're not going to get to start the first season, but stick with it because you become the superstar. You know, you're going to kind of tell your story to your clone to help your clone live a better life. Okay, it's kind of cool. You'll see. We follow Jason's example. But the other thing I was going to say right there is, Nostradamus. Okay, I almost forgot it. So one of the parts of the project is, why is the book called Hey Nostradamus? Right? And this is the second time we've mentioned Nostradamus. And this time it's his mom on this Nostradamus kick. Nostradamus was someone who wrote prophecies, quote unquote prophecies, and he predicted these things that were going to happen, but in these rhyming quatrains, not like a plane is going to fly into 2 towers in a big city and people are going to die. It's like, there will be a man and he'll come to power and this bad thing will happen and everyone will be afraid. Hey, I know who that is. You know, those things that we look back, things happen, we look at the quatrains and go, oh, that's what he's talking about, right? Who knows? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Just because I don't know it for it to be true doesn't mean it's not true. But it's these crazy rhyming quatrains that predict the future, right? So one question I'm going to ask you at the end in your project is, why is the book called Hey Nostradamus? So you could be thinking about that too. The quotes, be thinking about those, the clone letter, and the why is it called Hey Nostradamus, and the things you can think about. All right, we've hit the almost 25-minute mark here. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me ramble on. This was day 8. We'll drop day 9 tomorrow, or maybe later today, depending on how much I get done today. And I hope you're enjoying the videos. Don't forget, there are assignments that went live today. One is, and there's one assignment to do, and then one's a quiz to take. Remind you to please do that by yourself without looking up answers, without asking folks. Be people of integrity. All right, everybody. I miss you. I love you. I wish we could be together. Looks like it's going to be a lot longer before we get back together after the latest extension of the social distancing guidelines from the president until April 30th. So I don't know, but it's going to be a while. So we'll keep doing this. Let me know if you have any questions. Contact me through the messaging system. All right. See you next time.